in the whores, demons trying to trap you with semen, their eyes gleaming. You better spit it out like Willie Beeman. This is spiritual war. Yeah, I'm ducking all the witches in the whores, demons trying to trap you with semen, their eyes gleaming. You better spit it out like Willie Beeman. Came back with vengeance. Yeah, you can hear the sound from my engine. Back to the business. I've been trying to eat healthy and I'm working on my fitness. Eased up with the tension, fulfilling my vision.
Yo, peace, blessings. Coming back with another video. Today I'm gonna talk about something a little different outside the normal topics I usually talk about. For those that don't know, I went to Catholic school from junior high school to high school, and it was all boys. So from the age of 12 to 18, I went to all boy Catholic schools in Harlem, New York. So even though I was always aware of this, I didn't think about it till the other day, like about the dynamic of the Catholic school system. Because, you know, it might be public schools out there that's like that, but majority of the public schools I know, they're co-ed. Whether you're talking about elementary, junior high, high school, whatever level you're talking about. So I never thought about it before. I always knew that, you know, it was better to separate the females and the males when it came to that school dynamic because of concentration reasons, focus, getting work done. You know, it was different reasons of why they separated us in the school system. But I didn't never think about it, about how it all boils down to about sex. A lot of things in society revolves around sex. A lot of different things. No matter if we try to hide it, conceal it, run away from it, a lot of things in this world revolve around some type of sex dynamic. So I didn't think about this till the other day about, wow, the Catholic school system knew something when it created that about having all boys and all girls schools, because it all boils down to sex. And I'm gonna explain all that as I continue in the video. So, you know, I went to public school, elementary school, it was co-ed. It was in Harlem too. And you know, there was things that I seen as a kid and stuff like that that kids shouldn't have been doing. As far as like sexual things or knowing certain sexual stuff, we just, I guess, you know, it's just different things in society. Sex is just everywhere. TV, magazines, cartoons, it's just everywhere. There's nowhere we can run from it. So, and people picking it up at home too. So there was certain stuff that kids was doing that we wasn't supposed to be doing at that age. From what was that, about 5 years old and up? No, from the elementary age, and even daycare, kindergarten ages. So yeah, we definitely wasn't supposed to know a lot of that stuff that we was knowing or seeing and doing. So, but my father made the decision by the time I graduated elementary for me to go to all boys school because he felt it was better. And he went to Catholic school himself. And then at a certain age, I think after 8th grade, they separated the boys from the girls in that school. So he wanted me to do the same thing as far as like he felt it was better for, you know, beside the grades and stuff like that, because at that time, especially in Harlem where I'm from, a lot of public schools weren't graduating a lot of their students at a high level, and a lot of kids were failing. So Catholic schools at that time were more predominant when it came to the grading system and how they were doing in class and graduation rates compared to the public schools. So a lot of parents were sending their kids to Catholic school, so I understood that. But besides the grades part, it was because of, you know, the opposite sex as well, with concentration, focus in school, making sure I'm doing what I'm supposed to do and not being distracted. Because, like I said, even though that stuff was happening when I was younger, I seen stuff like that, kids doing stuff we wasn't supposed to be doing. When you get to that age of 12 and stuff like that, you know, hormones is kicking in, all that stuff is kicking in both male and females. You're starting to develop, you're starting to look at boys, and you're starting to look at girls. Like, everybody's starting to look at each other in a different way than you did when you was a kid. You know, you might have little kiddie crushes, and, you know, this person might like you and stuff when you're young, but when you start getting to the age of 12, 13, 14 and beyond, you know, it starts going a little beyond that. You know, now people want to act on those feelings in a different way than just a little crush, or just a, you know, they just like this person and y'all just playing little kiddie games and tapping each other and running around like how y'all were doing elementary. Now people trying to go to the bedroom and other stuff and flirting and kissing and all that other stuff. They going to a whole nother level. Bodies is developing on both male and female. So things start getting a little different between those ages when you start getting 12 and older. So when I think about it now, I'm like, there's something that happened in the Catholic school dynamic, or the system rather, when it came to the dynamic of sex, where they seen something and knew, okay, we have to separate the boys and the girls, because it's not going to be a good thing. Besides, because let's be honest, when girls are around, some boys act out of character, some boys show off, some boys just can't focus, they just start doing a whole lot of stupid stuff. Same thing could be the same thing with girls. They start doing stuff that they wouldn't do if boys wasn't around. You know what I'm saying? So that part's understood, but really the Catholic school system had to think deeper because of the dynamic of sex. They didn't want none of that being on their watch. Whatever we did outside of school, that's our business. But as far as school grounds, anything with sex or the opposite sex or anything being around each other, they knew, don't do that. Because, like I said, at those ages, teenage ages, it was all type of crazy stuff going through our minds and just everything. Like I said, everybody's developing, everybody's getting hormones and everything is kicking in. So you looking at the opposite sex in a whole different way than when you was a kid. Now you try and get it in. So they don't want no parts of that in that Catholic school dynamic. Like I said, public schools, majority of them is co-ed, but when it came to Catholic schools, a lot of Catholic schools, they didn't want no parts of that. Sorry, it's a big old B by the camera. But they didn't want no parts of that in that environment. And they didn't want to have to deal with seeing nobody doing nothing in the school, seeing kids flirting with each other, seeing anybody trying to do something sexual in the school or anything. They didn't want to see none of that. So they didn't want none of us together in that dynamic. And it's just interesting how, because when you think about the topic of sex, you wouldn't think about a school system basing it off of that to keep kids from that, you know what I'm saying? To control that. You wouldn't think a school is doing that. Of course, they had education classes on sex and sexual education, teaching you about different things, how to protect yourself, STDs, all different stuff out there to inform you, because they know we at that age and when we're going to start doing those things. So it's important for them to inform us so we can know this information and protect ourselves. But at the same time, they knew that boys around girls is not a good idea, because there's only one thing that's going to start happening after a while, and especially at that age, which is sex. So it's just interesting to me when I started thinking about that, because I never thought about it. I always knew that they separated us for, like I said, the focus in school, to get work done and stuff like that in a more efficient way, because I did concentrate more. I did feel like it wasn't no distractions when it came to that. After school, that was a whole different story. When we went around girls, that was a whole different story. But I feel like that was better in that dynamic versus my friends who were going to public schools. They were getting distracted by that with going to school with different girls, cutting classes, messing with the girls. Grades wasn't really good. They didn't really care. So versus us in Catholic school, it was a whole different story. It was none of that failing and anything, all that stuff, because if you was failing, they was going to kick you out. They didn't care if you was paying tuition. You got to keep a certain level. Public school wasn't like that. You failing, oh well. Like, they could care less. So, but it's just interesting because, like I said, when you think of school, you don't think of them basing certain stuff off of a dynamic of sex. And public schools don't do that because they're co-ed. There might be some out there that I don't know about that's all boys, all girls, but majority of them that I know of are co-ed. And like majority of Catholic schools, as you get older, once you get to junior high levels and high school level, they become, all boys or all girls. Sometimes, the only time we would be around the other schools, like my school, all girls version of us, we would only go around them when it was like Mass. And Mass is when we go to church and have half a days and church ceremonies and stuff like that. That's the only time we probably go around them, or when it was like an event. But they didn't take us around them like that because they already knew once we're around them and we mingling, we definitely don't see girls like that. So they already know the interaction is going to be a different way. So they used to always be mindful of that and watch for that too. Even when we had school parties and stuff like that, like they let us dance. They didn't say nothing, but you could tell they was watching and keeping an eye out too, because like I said, these are priests and stuff like that, and sisters, the nuns. They are in that structure of religion where, you know, just having any type of crazy sex and all that, lust and all that stuff, that's not allowed. That's not looked at a high, at a respectable level. That's looked down upon if you're just doing that recklessly. If you're not doing that with your partner that's married or something like that, and that dynamic of that Catholic religion and any religion, that's looked down upon. So they don't want no parts of that. They don't want no inclinations of anybody doing any attraction, flirting, and around each other. None of that in the school. Whatever y'all do outside of school grounds, that's y'all business. But as far as when y'all in front of us, they don't want no parts of that. So it's just interesting because I seen the difference. But it's also a bad thing because a lot of boys was doing a lot of craziness because they was around boys all day and they had to sit still in class and all that. And you know what happens when you gotta have a boy sit down for hours. He's gonna be antsy, he's gonna be moving, he's gonna be doing all type of crazy stuff. You seen a little kid when he got so much energy, he don't know what to do with him, so he just running around and you getting mad, like, yo, sit your behind down. But it's not his fault. He just got so much energy and so much enthusiasm, he need to put it somewhere, and if he don't got nowhere to put it, he going find ways for him to do it, even whether it's a good or a bad way. He might do something by mistake, but he trying to find ways to get that energy out. So it's the same thing when you talking about teenage boys and stuff in an all-boys school. They're gonna start doing a lot of homosexuality stuff, like just playing around, like tapping each other's butts and squeezing each other, just doing all type of stuff that's just because they got all this pent up energy and just don't know what to do with themselves, and they just doing recklessness because of that. And they might not even be gay. They just doing it because they in that environment. But that's why I say it's a bad thing, because that starts happening. I just see that all the time. But I remember somebody else was talking about this, one of these guys that I follow, and he was talking about that, like what happens when you have teenage boys and stuff like that that need to get off the energy in a classroom sitting for hours and around all boys, no girls around with that feminine energy. That type of stuff starts to happen. And when he said that, I thought I was crazy, because I used to be like, yo, what's wrong with some of these dudes? Because they used to be doing certain stupid stuff like that in school. And when he said that, it confirmed it for me that I wasn't tripping out. And I said, that's why. It just connected a link for me to the puzzle. And it made sense, because I used to see brothers do that, not only in my school. I used to see other boys do that in other all-boys school. And I used to be like, what's wrong with them? But that's why, because, yeah, it's a good thing. You got to surround masculine energy. We can focus. We can learn discipline. You got to surround the men to teach us certain responsibilities, lessons, and all that good stuff. But it's also bad because then we ain't got that feminine energy. Yeah, we got the feminine energy because we got female teachers and stuff. But we ain't, well, it's cases where people be having sex with the students, but we ain't talking about that in this case. But we ain't looking at the teachers like that or doing anything with the teachers. So we gonna be looking at somebody majority of the time of our age. So we ain't got that around us for what we at school at 8 o'clock, we get out at 2. That's like torture almost, doing that 5 days out the week for what? How many months throughout the year till we got summer vacation, or when you graduate, whatever grade level you in? That's torture. That's not normal. We not used to not having no feminine energy right next to us, so that type of homosexuality stuff is gonna start happening when brothers is just playing, tapping each other's butts, squeezing each other's nipples, all type of stupid stuff, just doing dumb, hitting each other in the balls, all type of dumb shit. But that's because they took the feminine energy out, and now they're around all boys for hours in class and ain't got no way to put no type of energy anywhere, because we in class sitting for hours, ain't no feminine energy to calm you down. They just start doing all type of erratic stuff that they normally wouldn't do. And I used to see brothers do that all the time. So that's kind of the bad thing about that dynamic when that happens. But other than that, when it comes to the focus and the concentration and the discipline and things like that, when it comes to getting things done, checking things off the list throughout the day, getting told how to be a man, because we had to wear uniform every day. We had to learn how to do a tie. If you didn't have your tie, you get detention. If you didn't have the right shoes, you get detention. If not, you get sent back home. So we got taught discipline and how to be men and all that stuff. That was a good thing about the Catholic school dynamic. that taught us all those things. I used to hate wearing uniform at first in junior high school because everybody else and all my friends were in public school and they was wearing whatever they wanted. But then I started liking it more and more once I got to high school, and I started really appreciating it. I started wearing it with honor. I started wearing our school sweaters with honor with my uniform. Even when we used to walk, for those that know Harlem, on 125th, the strip, where after school everybody was at, all the girls would be looking at us like, oh, those are Rice boys. Those are, they got their Rice shirts on. They got their Rice sweaters on. Or they got their nice uniform shirts on, pants, shoes, matching. Everything looked sharp. So it taught me about always maintaining myself and staying, making sure you stay presentable and also take honor in that, representing that. It taught me that. So that was just a good thing about going to Catholic schools and all boys schools. And I know it's probably the same for girls. I went to all girls Catholic schools. But it's just amazing when you think about it, like the whole dynamic of that being shaped the way it is when it came to all boys and all girls schools and Catholic schools was the dynamic of sex, to prevent that and prevent anything from happening on those school grounds. Because like I said, we all know at that age, when you start getting teenage age and preteens and all that, hormones kicking in, everybody's looking at each other. It's no more of that kiddie games when you little, we playing tag, or they touch you, or they doing dumb stuff and hating you because they like you. Things are going beyond that. Now people trying to take it further. They're trying to take clothes off. They're trying to, they're trying to get in the bedroom. They're trying to grab butts and all type of crazy stuff. So all that stuff is now, and they're trying to grab the girl breasts, all type of stuff. The girl's trying to touch on the boys. So it's a whole new level of things that start happening around the age of why they had to take those dynamics out in order for that not to happen on those school grounds. And it's just really amazing how a lot of things in the world are based off sex. No matter how we try to run from it, or hide from it, or disclose it, a lot of things are based off sex, and it revolves around it. I said, everything is in this world revolves around it. No matter our parents had to have sex to have us, we soon gonna have sex, have our own children when we get older. It's on TV, it's on the internet, it's on magazines, it's in cartoons. Sadly, just hidden in plain sight. It's everywhere. It's like people can't even look at vegetables and fruits that remind you of a sexual piece on a human being. They can't even look at that regularly. They start thinking negative with that. So it's everywhere. And it's because the world is so over-sexualized with these things, or why people can't think straight or think normal when they look at certain things or talking to people. Even the clothes we wear, the way clothes fit on us sometimes are sexual. The way that is sexual. Some heels, the way heels fit on women, the way the dress fit, all that. The way certain bras perk up stuff. The way certain shirts fit on men, the way certain sweatpants fit on men and show their parts and their gifts and stuff like that. It all revolves around the topic of sex. So you can't run from it. And even in the school dynamic, they can't run from it. So in order for them and their beliefs, as far as Catholic schools, for them to have their beliefs and for it to work, they had to cut that dynamic out that the older kids got, because when kids is at the age of teenagers, we're not looking at each other no more like little kids. We looking at each other on like a piece of meat. Everybody trying to get it in. And that's because hormones is kicking in, people to develop, bodies is there, we older, we want different things. So for them to prevent that on school grounds and anything happening further than that, they had to do that in the Catholic school system. But it also had a lot of bad with it because, like I said, those different things that dudes started doing because there was no feminine energy around them, started doing homosexuality stuff that they normally wouldn't do because there's no feminine, soft energy around them for hours and they gotta sit still. Even stuff happened with priests where they was touching little boys. So it's a bunch, that's the bad part about it. But as far as like the graduation rates, people focusing and learning discipline and responsibility and how to conduct themselves, that was instilled inside of me because of that. So I think I'm pretty much done with the topic. Hopefully I ain't talk too long. But yeah, I'm gonna do more topics like this and stuff like that. and because it's interesting when you look at everything in a different perspective. And like I said, I always knew that it was better for the concentration when I went to all boys Catholic schools and they separated the girls from the boys, but I never thought about the dynamic of the way they set the Catholic school system up when it came to all boys and all girls school was based off a dynamic of sex, and to prevent that the older we got, because they know what's going to happen once you put those two opposite sex around each other at those ages. It's not going to be good. So peace, blessings, like I always say. Y'all stay focused out there, stay goal-oriented, stay safe. Until the next topic. And like I always say, whether we crawl, run, sprint, we got to get to the destination somehow. So peace, blessings, much love, much respect, and I'll holler at you at the next video. Peace.
Break it down. Break it down, roll it, light it, spark it, ignite it, but don't fight it. Break it down, roll it, light it, spark it, ignite it, but don't fight it. Now I lay low on weekends, diving off the deep end. I don't have no friends, I can't lie or pretend. Late nights I'm wishing, feel